Hello and welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host, GB. Took a short break, but I'm back with an awesome guest. What can I say? To be honest, one of the most popular pro wrestling valets during the golden era of professional wrestling. Please give up for the perfect 10, baby doll. How you doing today? You okay?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
No, appreciate it. Appreciate it. We had to reschedule, but I genuinely appreciate you still making the time to do this interview and have a conversation with yours truly. I'd like to begin the episode by talking about, well, asking you what was it like growing up in the wrestling business, as you are actually a second generation talent.
It for me, it was perfect because I love professional wrestling. If it had any other parents, it would have been the same. But because I love wrestling and I love the whole aspect of it, the show and the it was just for me, it was a really hard childhood, but then it was also a perfect childhood because I had to
Yeah.
work really hard, but then I was part of everything. So it was cool.
No, that's cool. When were you kind of smartened up to the business? I know you grew up into it, but did you first think, "Oh, this is real," or did you know quite early on, how it worked?
It was whenever I grew up, it was actually in the age of kayfabe, like you
Yeah,
just it was not talked about. So I wasn't really totally smartened up until the very first match um, in San Antonio with Gino Hernandez. They went over everything with me, and then everybody left. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's how they do it. That's
mm,
how they put everything together. I kind of had an idea. You know how you just because you see so many matches and you
yeah,
see so you kind of have it, but I had no idea the dance and the complexity of it. It truly
yeah.
is magical.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's why I'm a fan to this day, and I have been pretty much all my life. One thing I want to jump straight into is happened in your career. It was an angle where the Midnight Express blasted Dusty Rhodes with a tennis racket, but more importantly, Jim Cornette actually hit you with a racket. Now, the heat that you guys received for this angle, my God, like you can go on the network or YouTube and find this clip, and you can see it yourself. The fans go nuts. This sort of thing was kind of
Right.
unheard of during the time. And Jim Cornette himself has actually said, when asked about this angle and yourself, that he actually got death threats for attacking you. If you
He
could,
actually
oh,
did. He actually did. It was the most uncomfortable for me was whenever we went to TBS TV on
yeah,
Saturday mornings, we got either like a shoebox or a sack or something of like our fan mail. And
yeah,
so I kind of was going through it, and there was like weird looking envelopes that didn't look like normal fan mail. So I started looking at it, and it was letters from prisoners that were like, if you want me to take care of this, just let me know. I get out on such and such a date. I'll be happy to take care of this. So I actually like handed those to Cornette. I was like, you better be careful. And he knew about it. So, but
yeah.
that's just part of it. It's, I, Cornette has said that he made more money working against me than any other angle he ever did. So
Oh, it's just so good
big
though. I
pat
mean,
on the back for both of us, right?
you do actually had like an intergender match. Was that your last match? It was like a couple of years ago, about 6, 7 years ago. And you
Oh,
two,
well, we had we worked 14 match for the Great American Bash
yeah,
in June. No, I'm sorry, of July of '86,
hmm,
and then we had one final match in Shelby, North Carolina. This was like 2, maybe 3 years ago. Sold out
yeah.
house for big time wrestling. It was fun. It was good. I got my final piece on him, so it was good. It was fun.
He does speak high of you. I have to admit that. I mean, Jim himself, like if anyone listens to him, I know like he's not the most popular person. I absolutely adore the man. Like, I'm sorry, I just like I can't dislike him. I find him entertaining. I grew up with him as the
Right.
manager, but his knowledge as well, which is brilliant. But he actually speaks high of you as well. Do you have any funny Jim Cornette stories that you can tell?
Oh my gosh, no, because all of them are really bad. I wouldn't. Oh my gosh,
Kind of put you on the spot there for that one.
I really the ones that I know are bad, and I can't. I don't want to.
No,
No,
no, that's
I
fine.
can't.
That's fine. No worries. We kind of are on the restricted in terms of the audience, so it's fine.
Well,
Um,
if I would have to ask him if it was okay
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was, but I don't want heat with someone that I don't have heat with. Like,
yeah. I
Donald,
was
why
gonna
are you
say,
telling those stories when I haven't ever heard him tell them
yeah,
outside of
it's
circle?
podcasts or interviews, and yeah,
Right. So yeah,
yeah. No,
I
no,
don't want
I
heat
I
with
completely
me.
get you. With the angle, when I go back to Dusty Rhodes, you was his valet and also his enemy. But if you could tell
Right.
the listeners, what was it like being both sides of the American dream? And when you do tell the story, is there a possibility you can give an impression of Dusty Rhodes? Because everyone who works with him or knew him just somehow squeezes in an impression of Dusty Rhodes.
Right. Dusty was amazing. And Dusty, whenever you talked with him or was able to like share ideas or when he was telling you what he wanted you to do, you could see the genius. You could hear the genius. You could see him like putting things together. And for my character, he loved Baby Doll. He
Yeah,
loved because I was like his Marilyn Monroe. He could shape me, he could form me. I could be the best heel ever or the best baby face ever for
yeah,
him. So it was it was kind of like a cherry position because being the only girl and having that respect from him because I wasn't afraid to get beat. I
no,
will to this day
I
say
know
that
that. That's
Baby Doll in 1985 had more heat than any female that's ever been in the business.
yeah,
It was so bad at one time when we did the 30 days where he won me from Tully for 30 days where I was going to be his valet and travel with him for the month of July. That the last week he went to the Crockett office and asked for me to have time off. He said the fans are going to kill her. He says
mm,
I cannot protect her at the point that she has so much heat. They're beating the shit out of her. Pardon me, but um, they were literally beating me to death, going back and forth to the ring. And part of the deal was like I didn't want to be with him, so he had to like wrap the bull rope around my neck and like
yeah.
pull me through the crowd. And I'm fighting him and fighting the people. It was really intense. So yeah, to this day, I will say that I had more heat in 1985 than any other female
Mm.
ever in the
It's when
business.
Dusty actually slaps you as well. Like I know, like apparently he's a bit cautious. It could have gone wrong, but he had to get it right. But the women were
Right,
cheering
right.
him. They were going nuts.
And I'd only been with Tully, I believe at that point where I stood toe to toe with him and I slapped him and then he like instant reaction slapped me back. That
Mhm.
was only maybe a month with being with Tully. So I had been with Crockett for any time at all, already had that major heat. And I didn't realize until a couple of years ago when a friend of mine was like watching tapes and
Mhm.
I was like doing laundry or something and I noticed like he was kept watching the same video over and over again. I said, "Why are you watching?" And he says, "Well, I watch the left side of the crowd, I watch the right side of the crowd, I watch my match, and then what I'm doing, and then I come and watch." So they gets everything.
Mhm.
So I never really knew someone to like watch the crowd. So I was just sat down like was watching and I noticed like when Dusty slapped me, like women are yelling, hit her again. And it's
They're
crazy
cheering louder
for like
than
a
men.
woman to tell a man to hit a woman. That's yeah.
Yeah.
There was a little there.
That is hate. Like I have to quote Billy Ray, but that is proper hate. The fact that the women are cheering louder than the men. I mean, this is the times that it was unheard of these sort of segments and these angles.
Right.
You know, it was revolutionary.
Well, the
It really
people the
was.
people believed we made them believe
Yeah.
the story that we were telling them, the animosity, the personal angst against each other,
Hmm.
the like Tully hated Dusty hated Tully, and then throw a female in that just stirred it up thicker.
Mm.
It was fun. I mean, just to have people's emotions right there and be able just to turn them whichever way you
Literally,
want them
have
to
it literally
go.
in the palm of your hands. It was so good.
Yes.
If you can, oh sorry, if you can give a Dusty impression as well as you can, if you can, just anything. I know that
I
you
am like
panicked
the
in the front.
worst. How about this? Because I'm like the worst, but I will tell you a story that everybody does the Sheik. Everybody copies the Sheik and does the the slap in the chest and everything.
Yeah.
So Arn Anderson was really, really good at it. So whenever I would meet the Iron Sheik up in New York, I was kind of looking forward to like, okay, who is this guy? Like everybody impersonates him. But when I met the Sheik, he was like the worst impression of everybody else. Like everybody else's impression was so much better than the actual Iron Sheik. I was so disappointed. But oh my God, the dude does. I don't have this. I try not to list, but it was like da you Jezebel, you
Yes.
Jezebel off the street. Yeah, so
I'm happy with it. I love the man. Like just hey, when Cody, who we see on TV every week now, just talking about his dad and just
yes,
embraces him, and fingers crossed he wins the belt and celebrates and honors his dad, which would be awesome. Going back to Tully,
oh yes,
who would actually introduce you as his perfect 10. So, and you're going
right.
to be his valet, and I think that might have been the strongest pairing, in my opinion, maybe, of your valet career.
Yes.
I want to know, how did that come
Well, I
about?
worked with him I worked with Tully the longest. We worked for
Yeah,
right at a year. We were both like smart ass heels. We
yes.
both enjoyed being heels. We both wanted to be heels. It was Tully kind of needed someone to take care of him
Hmm.
on the road because it got so busy that I actually was his valet. I made like the hotel reservations. I traded up our plane tickets to get better flights. Whenever we land somewhere, I would race to the car rental counter and rent the car and have the car already pulled around so that when they got their bags and came out of like departures, then I was there waiting for the car. And
Hmm.
then I did shoot 90% of the driving at least, if not more. It was so yeah, it was a shoot job. I was valet for a year.
Bloody hell. I think that's what kind of translated well then when you two were on the TV and doing promos together. And it just, I don't know, I just thought it's the best pair in my opinion. Although I think Dusty was more popular, obviously, with being fun, but in terms of actually stronger work and the heat that you two had.
Right,
But no, I
right.
thought it was cool. With Gino Hernandez, didn't want to skip over him. Before, the time with Tully and Dusty and Ric Flair and JCP. I want to know, because you don't necessarily hear a lot about him. I know a lot of newer fans will be more familiar with him with the dark side, but I want to hear some positive stuff about Gino Hernandez, about your time. What was your first impression of him, and what was it like to work with him in general? Because you hear that he was a really good talent in the ring.
Oh yes, absolutely. And it was a couple of years ago. Someone said like, who would have made another fourth horseman?
Hmm.
And I really thought Gino would have fit well in there. I don't know if he could have handled the travel and the day-to-day routines that we had to do, but I think he would have been a really, really good fit. Gino was one of those guys that he was almost too good.
Yeah.
His promos were too good. His wrestling style was too good. He needed to travel and be out of Texas more, but I think he took like a trip to New York and worked for Vince for like two, maybe three shows, and then was right back in
Oh,
Texas.
I didn't
He
know
just
that.
wanted to stay in Texas. Yeah. I learned a lot from the dark side of the ring. Even I'd known Gino since I was probably 13 years old, had a huge crush on him. Thought I knew a little bit about him, but I had no idea he was married. I had no idea he had children.
Yeah.
He definitely had like two and three lives going on because he had his wrestling life, he had his family life,
Mm.
and then he had the gambling and the drinking and the drugs life. So it was like three different people
Mm.
in one body.
There's just so much you can all catch up eventually. But I think it's cool to see that you can watch his stuff on the network and YouTube, and a lot of his stuff
Yeah.
just aged really well, in my opinion. Like I didn't really know him back in
Oh
the
yeah.
day, but I kind of had to like sort of do some research over the years and just feel like, oh, now I see why a lot of people from back in this time really spoke high of him as a wrestling talent.
Right.
He was really good.
Promos were excellent. Work rate was excellent. Was just that really haughty heel that even like with Von Erich's Von Erich's beat him up for like 4 years, and he
Mm.
still had major heat the whole time.
Especially during that time as well, when they were like hot as you could be.
Oh yes, yes.
The name Baby Doll, I know we've explored the perfect 10. Tylee gave that to you, but the actual name Baby Doll, where did that come from? I just think it's quite a cool name.
Actually came from Tully's favorite strip club in Dallas or in Texas. I think it was a strip club in San Antonio.
Love the
So,
origin.
but it
Fair enough.
fit. I mean, who doesn't want to be a baby doll? And even now, people like whenever I do interviews or shows,
Yeah.
they were like, "What do you call us? Or what do you want us to call you?" And I was like, "Who wouldn't want to be called baby doll?
Yeah.
I want to be known as baby doll like forever." So
I think that's how I addressed
I
you.
love it.
In terms of contact, I was like, "Oh, hi, baby dog. Would you be interested in coming on?" I didn't say like your full name, but
Sure.
it worked though. Obviously, I got you on here, and we're having a really good chat so
Well,
far. There is one.
well, and see, my real name is Nicola, which is my
Yeah.
dad's name and my mother's name, Nickla. And so far, I think I'm the only one. I Googled it a couple of times and nothing else comes up. Um, and so Nicola for a lot of people is different and they get it wrong. And it's Nicola or Nicolette or Nicola.
So I didn't want to get it wrong either. So I think are you on mute at the moment? I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you at the
I
moment. Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
do. Okay.
Okay, all good. Sorry, I thought I've lost you then. Um, there was one name that we haven't mentioned, and I know you worked with him, and a bit of a sad ending because his career got cut really short. Magnum TA. Um, I want to ask, not had he had his career ending incident, do you think with the popularity at the time, um, would he been bigger than Dusty, Hogan, or at least got to that level? I mean, where do you think his career would have ended up?
Oh, the sky would have been the limit for Magnum. He had
Mhm.
the movie star looks.
Yeah.
He was athletic. The people acts absolutely loved him. No
Hmm.
matter where he went, he was over just to the hilt. If wrestling wasn't for him in the future, like I could have seen him be like NWA world champion
Yeah.
and then go on to a movie career like Tom Selleck, something like that, because he just had the look. He just was such a handsome man. Still is a good looking man.
Yeah, I'm happy that he does the convention still. I mean, it sucks about but he seems to be in good spirit though, and apparently his interactions with the fans are always pleasant and very good.
He's got a wonderful wife. Courtney is so good to him. They've
Hmm.
had two children. They had Lucy and Tucker. Tucker travels with him a lot. I see Magnum probably 4 times a year, 4 or 5 times a year. He's going
Oh,
to be in
nice.
Virginia this next weekend up in Hampton, like his old stomping grounds, and I'm going to be down more in Richmond. So he still does travels quite a
Yeah.
bit. He can't fly because of his mobility, but if he can get in the big truck and Tucker's going with him, they go everywhere.
Oh, that'd be cool though for you guys to reunite, and the fact that you still keep in touch, and
Oh
obviously
yes.
reminisce about the new story, like the old stories, and talk about your family life as well. That's pretty cool. Larry
Well, and
Zbyszko. Oh, sorry.
it's all in like it's like I'm one of the boys. I'm not like
Yeah.
another girl in the business. I didn't like and no disrespect to any of the girls, but some of the girls that were a little more loose and a little more flirtatious and stuff like that. The guys really that and
There's a
it's just it's a better way for me because I'm more comfortable around them because it's just like walking in the dressing room in
mm.
'86. We still have that relationship.
That I think that's what Cornet was saying about you, like when he was complimenting you, saying like, you were one of the boys, and that the fact that you actually were tougher, a lot than, tougher than a lot of guys as well, and you beat the shit out of them if you can, if you wanted to.
Well, no, really. I don't think a girl wants to really have the reputation of like, oh, she can beat the shit out of you.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
it's kind of nice to have that to know that you're super tough and
yeah,
actually have the guys back your stories up. And
and
yeah,
respect
we
you as
actually
well.
all
Yeah.
beat up some.
No, that's cool. Though. That's cool. So I was just going back to sorry, it was Larry Zabisco who has appeared in the show. Great guest, but I have to ask, how was it managing the living legend?
It was Larry didn't need a manager.
Hmm.
And to put us together, it was a little bit awkward. We're really good friends, was really good friends outside of the business, but
Yeah,
our characters just did not click. I was like too Larry, like all gung ho, and a lot of his statements are very anti-woman and very like women should be subservient
Hmm.
and women should be seen and not heard, and that his favorite thing of like, if I could marry a deaf mute, she would be like the perfect woman and things like that. So for me to be that character and be really strong and bold,
Yeah, yeah.
it was, we were too much
Knowing
alike.
what he
And
stands for. I mean, what his character stands for. Yeah.
right, because if he's cutting down women, why am I going to be standing there smiling like, ha ha ha? It's not. It's like, who do you think you are?
Exactly. So like,
But out of Larry, we had the best angle ever, and that was the envelope where I had goods on Dusty and presented him with the envelope, and then just dropped the angle. So almost 40 years later, people are still talking and asking about like, what's
what's
in
in the
the
envelope?
envelope? What's in the envelope? So actually, with Larry, I have to say that the best angle ever happened with him because it's on. No one ever knew.
Can you reveal it? I know you get asked all the
Nope.
time. One day, but I'll get that.
Well, here's another Dusty story. Whenever I started coming back, because from like 91 to like 2005, no one saw me. I was like taking care of my kids. I was
Hmm.
traveling around a little bit. Um, I was being a mom. So
Yeah.
when 2005, 2006 hit, and I started doing like fan fests and conventions, people started asking like, what was in the envelope? What's in the envelope? And it was awkward because I didn't really know. I wasn't privy to the idea of which way they were going to go with the story.
Yeah.
So I asked Dusty, I was like, Dusty, what do I tell people? He said, never tell them. He says, as long as you never tell them, they will always keep asking. Once you tell them what's in the envelope, they'll quit asking. They'll never ask you again. So he said, never tell. So the
Ah,
words of Dusty,
Dusty,
I'm never going
Dusty.
to tell him.
I'm all for
That's
Dusty stories,
that.
by the way.
Dusty Ray.
Just any insight and just any stories
Mhm.
make me smile as well, just as a fan. But unfortunately, you did turn on Dusty, and you would team up with Woo Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Woo! Ricky.
How was the
Right?
Nature
It
Boy?
was, if and you're talking about heat, that was like Charlotte afternoon, Charlotte like 2 o'clock show, if I
Hmm.
remember right. And whenever I put Flair's foot on the rope, you can actually hear like for a split second the crowd goes silent, and then there's a gasp.
Yeah,
And I could actually, whenever they say white hot heat, you actually felt, or I did, felt the temperature of the room go up like 10 degrees. It was like
hmm.
instant, like, oh shoot, these people. And if you look at the look on my face, I am worried because I'm like, they're going to kill me.
I'm not
I
going to
am
make
not
out
going
of
to make
here.
it
I'm
out
not
to
going to
the
make out of
dressing
here.
room. They're going to put my head on a stake on a corner post, and that's the way that I will be remembered. Tully wasn't supposed to come down during that match, but he came down to help us get back because he could see how the crowd heard. It was it was scary, but then it was invigorating and exciting, and it was like all the emotions put into one that I'd gotten them. They never expected that turn. They never expected it. And it was just, we completely jerked the rug out from underneath their feet, and they were pissed that we had gotten to them.
Poor Dusty. How could you do that to him? The American dream. So I'm turning to a fan now
It
again.
was time. It was time for me to move on. I'd had enough. I'd had enough of the pickup and the chewing tobacco, and yeah, I was good.
Ah, but no, but the fact that Dusty did forgive you, as you've confirmed with the stories and him
Oh
saying,
yes.
"Don't reveal
Oh,
the envelope."
absolutely. I made Dusty a lot of money. I made Dusty a ton of money.
Dusty was
He's
great.
we're good.
I love it.
Dusty, I love you until my dying days. Prayers are with you. Every time I do a fan fest or convention, I miss him. I
No,
just so miss him.
I think the rest of the world, just in general, miss him. I mean, I didn't know him, but you did, and I think he just had that impact that is still talked about today, and is going to live long on forever. I believe that. Um, can I just confirm something, by the way? Black Scorpion. I've heard that
Okay.
you did the actual attire for that. Some fans might not know what I'm talking about. So Black Scorpion, it was in WCW. Ric Flair was revealed as this character. It didn't really get well received, but it's still talked about. People remember it. Did you
Right.
do the attire for that?
I did. I did. I was singing for probably about 200 wrestlers at that time.
Yeah.
Everywhere Jake the Snake to like Steve Williams, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, White Robe Flames. I was doing a lot of
The
gear,
Rockers,
and
apparently.
Blair knew that I'd keep my mouth shut. So he came over to the apartment twice, and I measured him and got him his gear because we didn't want anyone to know
Yeah.
what was going
It was
on.
quite hush hush at the
So yeah,
time.
I made the black with the black and then the silver side.
And then Arn
That
Anderson
was
doing the
me.
voice, and yeah. It's just yeah. I mean, if anyone's seen Black Scorpion, by the way, it's on, you can just watch it network and just thank me later.
Right.
But that's
Mhm.
that's cool. One thing I think that has been highlighted already is the fact that you are a proud mother, and I think it's quite
Yes.
cool. That your daughter, third generation wrestler Samantha Starr, she's a part of the National Wrestling Alliance, which is still going strong today under Billy Corgan, and it sort of has
Right.
an old school feel but a modern feeling to it. I want to know, how does it make
Right.
you feel, not just as a fan and as a wrestling talent and a legend, but as a mum?
Oh, I'm so proud of her. Just she's been wrestling like 15 years.
Yeah.
She just turned 30. So a lot of people don't know that she's like wrestled that much. And
Mm.
but she started out like taking bumps when she was 14. It was we were at a show in South Carolina, and had the ring set up, and some of the guys were taking bumps, and they wanted to know if she wanted to get in the ring, and it was like, oh heck yes. And ever since then there was no holding her back, even though like sometimes she would take so many bumps, like the next day she couldn't even like raise her head off the pillow, and her neck would be all stiff and she'd be stiff. But that's part of wrestling, is
Mhm.
you teach body how to fall, and fall really hard. Whenever you're a toddler, your brain, you're teaching yourself not to fall because it hurts. You want to walk up straight
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not fall. But wrestling, you do that complete 180. So you're a lot of people that I know that wanted to be wrestlers and couldn't be wrestlers because they couldn't take bumps. Their brain was like, oh no, you are not doing that.
Mm.
But she has overcome that. She's still continuing to train. She was up at Dr. Tom Pritchard's just like last week. She did the 3 hour drive up there and the 3 hour drive back.
Hmm.
She goes to Lodi School in Charlotte. It's like whenever she can get in the ring and learn something new and polish and make
Yeah.
herself just a little
Isn't
bit
just
better,
like
she's
settling for
always.
what she already knows, wants to
No,
literally like
absolutely
absorb
not.
as much as she
And
can.
NWA has definitely opened up so many opportunities for her. The
Hmm.
NWA female division is lit. I mean,
Mm.
you've got
Camille's
like
brilliant.
Camille as
Oh,
your
she's quality.
world champion. Oh my gosh. She walks, you just know she's a champion.
Yeah.
You got Alan King, you've got Pretty Howard. Those girls are just amazing heel tag teams. Maddie is amazing
What,
with her
Maddie Van
little
Kersten?
microphone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Had her
yeah,
on. She's really
she's
cool.
really
Loves
good.
the Spice Girls. Yeah.
Yeah, her little microphone needs to be trademarked. Her and her quick wit are so good. So for Samantha to go in there and fit and get a push, and being on, like she's going to be on their pay-per-view in
Hmm.
Chicago. Um, I'm just so proud of her. But
Yeah.
with her lineage, 3 out of 4 of her grandparents were wrestlers. You've got
Yeah.
Aurelian Smith, my mom and dad. Her dad's Sam Houston,
Yeah.
and her stepdad is Chad Bird. He also wrestled. And then her husband Dustin Bosworth, he's a wrestler. So
Just doesn't stop
and
growing,
then
does it? Doesn't
Jake
stop
the Snake.
expanding.
Jake the Snake is her uncle,
Yeah.
and she uses a DT as her finish. No one is kicked out of her DDT. They also have Rock and Roll, who was a WWF Women's Champion, as her aunt. So she is the only female that's third generation on both sides, not only on dad's side, but her mom's side. And being a female, to have your grandmother, your mom, and then yourself as a wrestler, no one has done that.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Really proud of
That is
that.
cool. And I can
You're
tell
right.
Rachel and Ben, I saw you even tweeted about it, and I know if you've tweeted in the past, just as a proud mum. And also you got to be in a corner as well for one of the matches in NWA. I mean, that just must
Oh
bring
yeah.
a tear to your eye. Just like, this is so cool. Like, I did this.
Kind
Yeah.
of it was really nice because I could go in there and help her out and get her
Hmm.
established. And now that once she's established and she's going, I don't need to make the trips because I know in my heart she's got this. and
Yeah.
she'll continue on. And this is her journey. I mean, I can't take the bumps for her. I can't do the promos for her. This is her time, and I'm letting her just be the brightest star there.
Yeah.
Plus, my hair looks like she took me fishing to the pier Saturday. We were out on the for like 8 hours fishing. She caught more fish than anybody much combined. She fed almost 15 families. We were catching puffer fish, skates. There were some blues caught. She caught the biggest pompano of the year so far. They put name on the board, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was so much to go fishing with her.
Didn't think I'd be like ending this chat with like talk about fishing. I think that's the first of the show, but I love it. I love it. Just that's pretty cool.
Well,
I like that.
I took her dad, Sam Houston, when we got married for a honeymoon. We went trout fishing, and he was not a fan. He
It's
wanted to
not
like drive up to the creek fish, but I took him like down the side of a mountain called Box Canyon, and we caught a couple. Oh, I caught a couple of trout, and I built a fire, and I gutted the fish, and we were going to have trout with like the butter and the seasonings. Like, it was really fancy and a lot. I mean, you're paying top dollar in restaurant for. So
mm.
he didn't really like it. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, when she was a little girl, probably like 4 years old, I took her fishing. We were going for catfish, and she was like with my dad and had the pole down, and all of a sudden her pole goes like starting to go in the water, and she like reels it and pulls it in, and that catfish is almost as big as she is. So
Oh,
ever since then, she's loved to fish. So
uh,
outdoor girl for sure.
she got the bug quite early on for the fishing. I've never done it before.
Hey, if
I'd like to do.
we drove 5 hours one way to go fishing. 5 hours
It's commitment.
to go one way, go fishing. Mhm.
That is commitment. Any fishing fans, like apply or tweet Baby Doll. Let her know that you're a fishing fan as well. I will put your
Oh
details in
yeah,
the description below so they can keep up to date with you, your daughter, just what you're doing as well, what convention you'll be at, when you're next going to be fishing as well.
right.
Uh,
Okay. Well, I've got Saturday. I'm going to be at for my debut for Mid Atlantic Title Wrestling, and this is their second show. They've
mhm.
got, I think they were promoting like 40 shows for the rest of the year. They're going gangbusters. I'm going to be going to the ring with Ricky Morton and his son Kerry, who is the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
Going to be going against Extreme Horseman. And then next month, I will be at ASW, which is Gary Damron's promotion. This is the last match for Rock and Roll Express. It's on their farewell tour for West
Oh, bloody hell.
Virginia. I'll
Yeah.
be going to the ring with Ricky and Robert on that one. I've got, I'm going to be at the New England Fan Fest in Warwick, Rhode Island in July. I've got the Gathering in August. I've got several other things like in the works, but right now those are the ones that are for sure penciled in. And then I've got WrestleCade at the end of the last week of November
I
for
mean, so you're
Tracy
actually
Mudd.
like, despite like needing like a family life, you're still keeping in touch with the wrestling fans and the business, and still making time for the shows and
I
myself as
love
well.
it. I
That's pretty fucking
absolutely
cool.
love wrestling. I do. It's one of those sports where there really isn't an age limit, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Nah.
Um, I still would like to do the lucha and go down and be La Puta Grande would be my moniker for to be a manager and do the big makeup and the big hair and just be the worst heel manager they've ever had. That would be a dream.
Give Tully a call, reunite, so you can get a tour in Mexico. I love it.
Oh, I don't think that Tully's working, but maybe hey, I would go with Samantha. She can heal better than anybody. So Samantha Starr, and yeah, we could do it. That's for sure.
Do it. I hope it happens. I hope it happens. Baby Doll, thank you very much for your time. I know I said in the beginning we had to reschedule, but honestly, I can't thank you enough. It's just been such a really good conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I'm quite genuinely smiling, as you can see here, and just hearing really fun stories. As a valet, you've been a heel, you've been a babyface. But after speaking to you, I think, and I think the fans will agree, you'll always be the perfect 10, Baby Doll. But thank you
That's
for coming
it.
on. I
Forever.
will put the
Thank you so much.
Oh no, no problem at all. Honestly, I'll have to have you again. I think there's going to be more stories, and um, I'll put the social media handles so the fans can contact you and follow you and keep up
Right.
to date with you and what you're doing. And if the listeners can like this video, subscribe to this channel. That'd be much appreciated. And you can rewatch this video. You can see what I've got lined up next as well. But if you can follow me as well on my social media handles, that'll be much appreciated. But for now, everyone, I hope you all have a good week. Take care.
You bet. Thank you, hon.
Hello there. I've got a special announcement for my next guest.
Hello, everybody. This is Taya Valkyrie La Güera Loca, 1/3 of the Death Dolls, and you are listening to What Do You Call It podcast.
Yeah.